Lilia had always believed that strength was more than a badge, more than the uniform she wore every morning. Strength was in the way you carried yourself when you walked down a street filled with strangers, how you stood tall when tension lingered in the air, and how you met people's eyes when their day was falling apart. At 26, Lilia had already seen more of life than most people her age. She was a police officer in a medium-sized city, the kind of place where crime wasn't constant but was never absent either. Her days were filled with patrols, traffic stops, domestic disputes, and sometimes arrests. She wore her uniform with pride, knowing that it wasn't just fabric. It was trust, responsibility, and visibility. But Lilia had a small rebellion woven into her otherwise disciplined appearance. Her hair. Her light pink hair, soft pastel and gleaming like cotton candy under the sun, cascaded down just past her shoulders. It had been her mark of individuality since her academy days. Even as her fellow recruits kept their hair natural, tucked into buns or shaved to stubble for convenience, Lilia clung to her pink locks. They made her feel alive, reminded her that beneath the rigid uniform and authority, she was still a woman who loved color, art, and softness. Her boyfriend Daniel loved it too. He often said it made her stand out in a crowd. Like a cherry blossom among the pines, he'd joke, pressing a kiss into her hair before she left for her shift. They shared a modest apartment, cozy with mismatched furniture and overflowing bookshelves. Daniel worked in graphic design, and his creativity matched Lilia's streak of nonconformity. For 2 years, Lilia's pink hair had never been an issue. She had passed inspections, walked beats, and made arrests, her pastel crown visible to every citizen who encountered her. Most smiled at it. A few raised their brows, but no one had told her it was against the rules. Until one Tuesday afternoon. It started innocently. Lilia had just returned from a patrol when her captain called her into the office. Captain Harris was a seasoned officer, gray-haired and stern, but usually fair. He motioned for her to sit down. "Lilia," he said, folding his hands on the desk. "You're one of my best young officers. You know that." "Yes, sir." She felt her chest swell slightly with pride. He sighed. "This isn't easy to bring up, but I received a notice during last week's inspection. Your hair color, it's not within regulation." Her stomach tightened. "My hair? Pink isn't on the list of natural acceptable colors for officers," Harris said gently. "You've slipped by for a while, I'll admit. But now it's been flagged. You need to change it, effective immediately." The words struck her like a baton to the ribs. For a moment, she couldn't respond. Pink hair was such a part of her identity that losing it felt like losing a piece of herself. She managed a nod. "Understood, sir." "Good." Harris replied, his expression softening. "I don't want to write you up. Fix it by next week." That night, Lilia sat on the couch with Daniel, fingers knotted in her pink strands. "They want it gone," she said, her voice breaking slightly. Daniel frowned. "Seriously? It's part of you." "I know," she whispered, "but I can't lose my job. I've worked too hard. I'll have to dye it brown or black, something natural." He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Then we'll do it together." "I'll help." The next evening, they turned their small bathroom into a makeshift salon. Daniel had gone to the store and picked out a box dye labeled Rich Chocolate Brown. Lilia put on her oldest t-shirt, but Daniel shook his head. "You'll need protection. No mess on your clothes." He pulled out a shiny black PVC barber cape he had once bought for a costume project. He tied it snugly around her neck, the cool synthetic material sliding over her body until it covered her completely. To be extra careful, he layered a clear plastic cape over it, crackling as he adjusted it. "There," Daniel said, "like a real salon." Lilia forced a smile. "Guess so." The process began. She sat nervously on the stool as Daniel mixed the dye, the smell sharp and chemical. When he began brushing the thick brown paste into her pink strands, she felt her stomach twist. The black PVC cape gleamed under the bathroom light, dotted with streaks of dye. The plastic overlay crinkled with every movement. When the dye set and Daniel rinsed it out, they both stared at the mirror. "Oh," Lilia whispered. The result was disastrous. Instead of the deep chocolate shade on the box, her hair was a muddy, uneven brownish gray with pink undertones still peeking through. It looked burnt, lifeless, ugly. Daniel tried to reassure her. "Maybe under different lighting." "No," she said firmly, tears prickling her eyes. "This looks horrible. I can't go to work like this. Everyone will laugh." For 2 days, Lilia wore her hair pulled tightly back under her hat, avoiding comments. But the mirror haunted her. Every glimpse of her patchy, sickly color was a reminder that she had failed. Finally, she made the hardest decision of her life. "There's only one option left," she told Daniel. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "I'm going to the hairdresser. I need to shave it off. All of it." Daniel stared at her, wide-eyed. "Lilia, are you sure?" She nodded, though her throat ached. "There's no fixing this mess. If I show up to work bald, at least I'll look professional. No more fighting with colors, no more rules broken." The hairdresser's shop smelled of shampoo and hairspray, a place Lilia had visited many times, but never for something so drastic. The stylist, a woman in her 40s named Marla, greeted her warmly. "What are we doing today?" Marla asked. Lilia swallowed hard. "I need it all gone. Shave me bald." Marla's brows lifted, but she didn't argue. "All right, let's get you caped up." Lilia sat in the chair, heart pounding. Marla draped a crisp white neck strip snugly around her throat. Then came the cape. A gleaming silver PVC cape that flowed over her shoulders like liquid metal, enveloping her body completely. The material shined under the salon lights, smooth and cold against her skin. "Ready?" Marla asked gently. Lilia's eyes burned. "As I'll ever be." The clippers buzzed to life, a harsh, hungry sound. Marla placed her hand on Lilia's crown, tilting her head forward. The first pass came from the nape upward, the vibrating blades gliding against her scalp. Long, uneven strands of brown-pink hair tumbled down, sliding across the silver cape like wilted petals. Lilia gasped softly, tears spilling down her cheeks. Marla worked methodically, clipper after clipper pass. The sound was constant, the feeling alien. Warm metal scraping against skin, hair falling away faster than Lilia could comprehend. She watched in the mirror as her shoulder-length hair dissolved into stubble. Daniel had come with her and stood behind, silent, his eyes wide with awe and sorrow. Marla switched to a finer guard, reducing the stubble until it was mere shadow. The cape gleamed under the piles of fallen hair, the silver surface nearly buried. "Almost there," Marla said softly. She then spread warm shaving foam across Lilia's scalp. The sensation made Lilia shiver, thick, cool cream coating every inch of her head. Marla's razor followed, scraping carefully, blade by blade, leaving behind smooth, gleaming skin. By the time the last trace of hair was gone, Lilia's reflection was unrecognizable. A bald woman stared back at her, face wet with tears, silver cape heavy across her lap. Marla wiped her head clean, removed the cape, and handed her a small mirror. Lilia stared at herself, fragile and raw. Her scalp shone under the lights, pale and bare. I don't even look like me," she whispered. Daniel placed his hand on her shoulder. "You look stronger. Fierce." Lilia cried again, but inside a strange calm began to settle. The next morning, Lilia pulled on her uniform, buttoning it with steady hands. She looked at herself in the mirror. No more pink, no more uneven brown, no more hiding. Just her bald head, proud and undeniable. When she walked into the station, silence fell. Her fellow officers stared, then slowly nodded. No laughter, no mockery, only respect. On patrol, civilians glanced at her bald head and then at her badge. There was no pink softness anymore, only steel, authority, presence. And surprisingly, she felt powerful. By the end of her shift, Lilia realized the truth. The bald head wasn't a loss. It was a rebirth. She was still herself, more herself than ever before. And as she walked the streets, her bald scalp glistening under the sun, Lilia smiled. She was a police officer. She was strong. She was free.